Emily had always been a bright, cheerful 16-year-old, but her world had changed drastically 2 years ago. A car accident had left her paralyzed from the waist down, confining her to a wheelchair and filling her life with frustration, sadness, and a sense of helplessness she had never known before. Her mother, Victoria, a 30-year-old billionaire, spared no expense in providing Emily with every possible therapy, doctor, and specialist. Despite all their efforts, nothing seemed to restore her mobility. Victoria had watched her daughter struggle daily, longing for her to smile, walk, and feel the freedom she once had. Hope had begun to fade, replaced by worry and exhaustion. One crisp California morning, Victoria received a recommendation from a trusted friend, a young mechanic named Jake, only 25 years old, with a reputation for crafting innovative mechanical devices that could aid mobility. While most people assumed mechanics only fixed cars, Jake's talents went far beyond engines and transmissions. He had a small workshop in Los Angeles where he experimented with prosthetics and exoskeletons designed to help people with disabilities regain movement. Victoria felt a mix of skepticism and cautious hope. She had spent millions on traditional medicine, but this approach was unconventional, experimental, and perhaps exactly what Emily needed. That afternoon, Emily found herself wheeled into the mansion's massive garage, a space usually filled with luxury. Cars, tools, and sunlight streaming through its large windows. She had never met Jake before, and the idea of a young mechanic tinkering with her legs made her nervous. She shifted in her wheelchair, clutching the armrests, as Victoria introduced Jake. He entered the room, wearing a simple blue shirt, worn jeans and gloves, carrying a set of tools and mechanical parts neatly, organized in a custom toolbox. His calm demeanor immediately contrasted Emily's anxious energy. "Hi, Emily," he said gently. "I'm here to see if I can help you take steps again. We'll go slow, and I'll be with you the entire time." Emily's curiosity began to outweigh her fear. She had spent so long hearing adults discuss what was possible or impossible for her, but Jake spoke directly to her. There was a sincerity in his voice, a patience in his eyes, and a confidence that felt encouraging rather than overbearing. Victoria observed quietly, her heart pounding, as she watched her daughter's first spark of hope in months. Jake carefully laid out the mechanical exoskeleton on a padded mat in front of Emily, explaining how each part worked: the motors that supported her knees, the braces that stabilized her hips, the sensors that responded to her slightest movements. It sounded complicated, even intimidating, but Emily was fascinated. They began the fitting process. Jake had Emily sit upright while he adjusted straps and supports around her legs and torso, making sure everything was snug but comfortable. He explained each adjustment, allowing Emily to understand what was happening, rather than just being a passive participant. "This will help you move your legs while giving you balance," Jake said, tightening a joint at her knee. Emily could feel the exoskeleton responding to her body, the metallic frame becoming a second skin. For the first time in years, she imagined what it would feel like to stand, to move, to walk. Her chest tightened with a mixture of fear and excitement. Victoria stood close by, watching every moment. She had spent countless nights crying over her daughter's condition, wondering if Emily would ever live a normal teenage life. Seeing her daughter sit upright, interacting with someone who genuinely believed in her potential, was overwhelming. Her heart swelled with a combination of hope and anxiety. Hope for what might come, anxiety over the risk of failure. She held Emily's hand tightly, offering silent reassurance as Jake worked meticulously to prepare the exoskeleton. "You're going to do great," Victoria whispered, though even she wasn't sure if she fully believed it yet. After what felt like hours, the exoskeleton was finally fitted, and Jake helped Emily stand for the first time. Her legs trembled beneath the mechanical support, and she gripped the sides of her wheelchair. Every movement required concentration. Every shift of weight felt unnatural, yet exhilarating. Jake stayed close, steadying her and offering encouragement. "You're doing it, Emily. Just a few steps at a time," he said, smiling warmly. The sound of Emily's breath, the faint whir of the exoskeleton motors, and the quiet hum of the garage filled the room. Victoria's eyes filled with tears as she witnessed her daughter's first attempt at standing in years. The first steps were small, awkward, and tentative. Emily's legs wobbled, her feet shuffled, and she feared she might collapse. But Jake remained patient, guiding her movements, supporting her when necessary, and celebrating every inch of progress. Emily could feel a mix of exhilaration and disbelief coursing through her. Was this really happening? Could she actually walk again? With each cautious step, the possibility grew stronger. Victoria clapped softly from the side, tears streaming down her cheeks, unable to contain her overwhelming emotions. The mansion's garage, usually a place of quiet and routine, had become a room of miracles, hope, and new beginnings. By the end of the afternoon, Emily had managed several steps with Jake's help. Though she was exhausted, a huge smile spread across her face, something Victoria hadn't seen in years. Jake carefully removed the exoskeleton, explaining that they would continue training over the next several weeks. "This is just the beginning," he said. "With patience, practice, and your determination, you'll walk more and more each day." Emily nodded, her eyes shining, with a mix of relief, pride, and hope. Victoria hugged her daughter tightly, whispering through her tears, "I can't believe this. You did it." As Emily wheeled back to her room, she felt a sense of empowerment she hadn't felt in years. The journey would be long, challenging, and sometimes frustrating, but for the first time, she believed in herself. She looked forward to the training sessions with Jake, curious about how far she could go. Victoria followed behind, her heart lighter than it had been in years. In that moment, the mansion no longer felt like a place of restrictions and limitations. It felt alive with possibility, hope, and the beginning of a life Emily had once thought was lost forever. The days that followed were filled with rigorous training, patience, and small victories. Emily woke each morning eager yet nervous, knowing she would once again face the challenge of moving her legs with the exoskeleton. Jake arrived promptly, carrying his tools and adjusting the mechanical device carefully. Every session began with stretches and warm-ups, ensuring Emily's body was ready for the movements. She had learned to trust Jake, who guided her patiently, encouraging her with calm words and supportive gestures. Each step felt unnatural at first, but Emily noticed subtle improvements. Her legs grew stronger, her balance improved, and her confidence began to blossom. Victoria watched from the sidelines, both proud and emotional, seeing hope materialize before her eyes. During the early sessions, Emily often doubted herself. Her legs would tremble uncontrollably, and she would sometimes fall back into the wheelchair with a frustrated sigh. Jake remained steady, never showing impatience, only encouragement. "Every step counts, Emily. Even the smallest movement is progress," he said, adjusting the exoskeleton straps. Emily began to understand that this journey was not about perfection, but perseverance. Each day, she practiced, walking for longer stretches, moving from the safety of parallel bars to open floor space. Victoria, standing nearby with tears in her eyes, cheered softly, capturing videos to document each milestone. The mansion's therapy room had transformed into a place of determination, hope, and growing joy. The exoskeleton, once a foreign metallic structure, gradually became an extension of Emily's body. She learned to sense its movements, responding naturally to its assistance. Jake carefully monitored her progress, noting how her muscles reacted and tweaking the device to maximize support. Emily's steps became smoother, and she began to walk without constantly gripping the wheelchair for balance. The first time she took 10 consecutive steps on her own, she gasped in disbelief, her face lighting up with triumph. Victoria rushed forward, embracing her daughter and whispering through tears, "You're walking, Emily, you're really walking." Jake smiled quietly, proud of her courage, knowing that this moment was the result of dedication, trust, and countless hours of hard work. As Emily grew stronger, Jake introduced more challenging exercises, walking on different surfaces, slight inclines, and practicing turning without assistance became part of their routine. Emily stumbled occasionally, but she no longer felt defeated. She had learned to fall, recover, and keep moving. Each session ended with laughter, encouragement, and a sense of achievement. Victoria often joined them in these exercises, helping her daughter stretch or offering motivational words. The bond between the three strengthened with every step. Emily's world expanded beyond the confines of her wheelchair. She could now imagine going outside, exploring her surroundings, and participating in activities she had long believed were impossible. One afternoon, after a particularly successful session, Jake suggested they try walking without parallel bars. Emily's heart raced with both excitement and fear. Victoria stood close, ready to catch her if needed. "You can do this," Jake said softly. Emily inhaled deeply, concentrating on her movements. She took a tentative step, then another. The exoskeleton supported her perfectly, and she began to walk across the room under Jake's watchful eye. Her heart soared. Victoria's tears flowed freely as she witnessed her daughter take these independent steps. The mansion, once quiet and subdued, now resonated with energy, laughter, and the sound of a young girl reclaiming her life. Progress continued daily, and Emily's determination never wavered. She spent hours practicing, often pushing herself to achieve more than she thought possible. Jake encouraged her gently but firmly, emphasizing patience and persistence. Victoria, proud and emotional, observed every milestone, noting how much her daughter had changed. Emily's movements became more fluid, her confidence radiated in her posture, and she even began to experiment with faster steps. The exoskeleton, which once felt cumbersome, became a natural part of her body, responding to her intentions and giving her the freedom she had longed for. Each day was a victory, each step a testament to courage and unwavering support. There were moments of struggle. Emily occasionally became frustrated when her body refused to cooperate, and tears would stream down her cheeks. Jake remained by her side, offering reassurance and guidance. "Every challenge is part of the process. Don't be hard on yourself," he reminded her. Emily learned resilience, understanding that setbacks were temporary and part of her growth. Victoria provided comfort and encouragement, sharing her own experiences of doubt and determination. Together, they created a supportive environment that nurtured progress. Emily no longer feared the exoskeleton. Instead, she embraced it as a tool that allowed her to rewrite her own story, step by step. Finally, after weeks of consistent training, Emily's mobility reached a level she had never imagined possible. She could walk across the room with minimal assistance, turning, stopping, and moving with confidence. Victoria's heart swelled with pride and emotion as she realized that her daughter, once confined to a wheelchair, had reclaimed her independence. Jake's dedication and Emily's perseverance had transformed a dream into reality. The mansion's rooms, filled with sunlight and hope, echoed with laughter, joy, and celebration. Emily's journey was far from over, but she had proven to herself and everyone around her that determination, trust, and love could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. That evening, Emily stood in the mansion's garden for the first time, taking steps on the grass while the ocean breeze lifted her spirits. Victoria and Jake walked beside her, offering support when needed, but Emily's movements were increasingly independent. She laughed freely, savoring each step, marveling at the sensation of walking outdoors after years of confinement. The experience was transformative, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Emily had discovered strength she never knew she possessed. Her confidence, self-esteem and sense of freedom grew with every stride, and the mansion felt alive with new energy, possibility, and the beginning of a bright future. Emily's confidence soared with each passing day. The mansion's therapy room, once a place of struggle and uncertainty, had become a space of triumph and discovery. She could now walk longer distances, make turns without hesitation, and even navigate small obstacles. Jake continued to fine-tune the exoskeleton, ensuring it responded seamlessly to her movements. Victoria, standing nearby, could hardly contain her tears, witnessing the transformation of her daughter from a girl confined to a wheelchair into a young woman walking with determination. Emily's laughter filled the air, echoing through the sunlit rooms and filling everyone present with joy and relief. As the weeks went by, Emily's training expanded beyond the walls of the mansion. Jake introduced outdoor exercises in the garden and driveway, simulating real-world walking conditions. She learned to balance on uneven surfaces, step over small rocks, and maneuver slight inclines. Each challenge tested her determination, but Emily approached them with courage. Victoria often walked alongside her, offering encouragement and sharing in the excitement of each milestone. Emily felt a growing sense of freedom, and the exoskeleton, once an intimidating device, now felt like an extension of her own body. Every step reinforced her belief in her strength and resilience. One afternoon, Emily took her first steps entirely without assistance. Jake had positioned himself nearby, ready to help if needed, but she moved forward, independently, each step deliberate and confident. Victoria watched, tears streaming down her face, overwhelmed by emotion. She had spent years worrying that her daughter's life would be defined by limitations, but now she saw her reclaiming control. Emily's movements were fluid and precise, her posture upright, her expression radiant. The mansion, which had often felt like a place of confinement, now resonated with laughter, hope, and the sound of a young girl achieving the impossible. Every step was a victory, a testament to perseverance and unwavering support. The bond between Emily, Jake, and Victoria deepened. They shared moments of triumph, laughter, and occasional frustration, but their mutual respect and care grew stronger every day. Emily felt gratitude toward Jake, who had believed in her potential when she had doubted herself. Victoria marveled at her daughter's courage and determination, recognizing that the journey had strengthened their family bond in ways money could never achieve. Together, they celebrated each milestone, first independent steps, first outdoor walks, and finally the ability to navigate the mansion's hallways without constant assistance. Each success reinforced Emily's sense of self-worth and independence. Emily began to dream about the world beyond the mansion. She imagined walking through parks, visiting friends, and participating in activities she had once thought impossible. With Jake's guidance, she practiced increasingly complex movements, learning to climb stairs with partial support and to balance on different surfaces. Victoria cheered her on, capturing moments of progress on video and sharing in the joy of each achievement. The exoskeleton, once a symbol of limitation, had become a symbol of empowerment. Emily realized that her journey was not just about walking, it was about reclaiming her life, embracing challenges, and discovering her inner strength. Challenges continued to arise. On some days, fatigue or muscle soreness slowed her progress. Emily occasionally felt frustrated, doubting whether she could maintain the strides she had made. Jake remained patient, offering guidance and encouragement, emphasizing that persistence mattered more than perfection. Victoria offered emotional support, reminding her daughter of how far she had come. Emily learned resilience, understanding that setbacks were temporary and part of growth. Each difficulty she overcame strengthened her resolve, her independence, and her confidence. The process was transformative, reshaping her understanding of what was possible and redefining her expectations for her own abilities. Finally, Emily achieved a level of independence that felt almost miraculous. She could walk across the mansion's rooms without assistance, navigate outdoor spaces with confidence, and even run short distances with the exoskeleton supporting her legs. Victoria's pride and joy were immeasurable. She hugged her daughter tightly, overwhelmed by emotion. Jake smiled quietly, satisfied that his invention and guidance had helped Emily reclaim her mobility. The mansion, once a symbol of limitation and struggle, had become a sanctuary of hope, achievement, and renewed possibilities. Emily's laughter and footsteps filled every corner, a constant reminder of perseverance, love, and determination. One sunny afternoon, Emily stood in the mansion's garden, her feet firmly planted on the grass. The ocean breeze ruffled her hair, and the warmth of the sun enveloped her. Victoria stood nearby, tears of pride glistening on her cheeks, while Jake observed with a quiet, satisfied smile. Emily took steps across the lawn independently, pausing occasionally to savor the sensation. She spun in circles, lifted her arms in triumph, and laughed freely, experiencing mobility in a way she had never imagined possible. This was more than walking. It was a reclamation of her freedom, her confidence, and her joy. The moment felt magical, transformative, and eternal. Emily's journey inspired those around her. Victoria, who had longed for her daughter's happiness, realized that true progress came from trust, perseverance, and love, rather than money alone. Jake's dedication and ingenuity had created a bridge between limitation and possibility. Emily herself had discovered strength, courage, and independence she never knew she possessed. Each day became an opportunity to explore, to grow, and to celebrate life on her own terms. Together, the three had not only achieved a physical milestone, but had also nurtured emotional resilience, hope, and an unbreakable bond that would last a lifetime. In the end, Emily's story was not just about taking her first steps. It was about reclaiming her life, rewriting her narrative, and proving that determination and support could overcome the greatest challenges. The mansion, filled with sunlight, laughter, and hope, became a symbol of triumph. Emily's footsteps echoed as a reminder that courage, love, and innovation could create miracles. Victoria, filled with pride, embraced her daughter, while Jake quietly celebrated the success of their hard work. Emily had walked into a future full of possibilities, and nothing could hold her back.